Hi friends, this is going to be really unconventional. This week what I'm going to be doing is putting up a kind of like a heart-to-heart, some heart-to-heart videos. I have to chop them up in segments because you know I'm a big talker. And I have a tendency to drone on and on and on. It's just because I have a lot to say. And what I have a lot to say about right now is my health and this diagnosis of multiple myeloma. And I have promised all of you that I would sit down and really have a heart-to-heart talk, and that's what you're going to be seeing this week. You're going to see from the very beginning of me talking, I'm going to be walking out in the wonderful North Woods here. It's just stunning, and I just thought it'd be a perfect fitting place to share my thoughts and my plans. But before the week begins, this is the very first video where I'm just going to go over the results, and then you're going to hear my thoughts and a more elaboration during the rest of the videos this week. What I do ask is that you continue to come back. What I really need is people watching, you know, playing those playlists, having those playlists continually running. If you want to do anything for me besides prayers, which your prayers are awesome, because prayers are really being answered. They're being answered in a big way, but I would need, so what I'm asking for is just prayers, and then just coming back for support of the channel, playing the playlist, because the playlists are really going to be crucial in the next month, and I'll tell you why as the week progresses. You'll see the whole picture and what's going on. But right now, this is going to be the dry bare bones to what I got done at James Beck Cancer Center, again, which also substantiated the original results, which was done back in February and March. I had a wonderful doctor, Dr. Leo, back in Bonners Ferry, Idaho, who looked at me and was looking at my back pain and me not getting better, and she noticed on my labs from a month earlier, actually 2 months earlier, that my proteins were spiked. And she says, you know, a woman of your age and of your health, you shouldn't have a spike in your. So what she ended up doing was one lab test, which actually gave us a window of, yes, this is serious. And then in order to confirm the presence of the cancer cells, she had to do another follow-up, which was a very specific way of testing for this very specific cancer. And some of the things that she ended up doing was a 24-hour, it's called a protein immunofixation test, because multiple myeloma actually shows up in the urine and in the blood. And now multiple myeloma, you know, it's very fast growing. It's in the plasma cells. And it's interesting how it gets diagnosed in the urine with a 24-hour test and in the blood. And sometimes you won't see it in the blood, you'll just see it in the urine. So it's really odd. It's really odd. But she chose the right tests, and I'm going to bring them up because I had access to them right away, believe it or not. And because on our patient portal, we can go right to it right away. And I remember I kept checking and checking and checking, and sure enough, there were the results. And I'm going to be honest with you, as a nurse, I didn't understand the results at first. I didn't know if they were good. I didn't know if they were bad. There were things that were elevated. So, all right. So I'm just going to show you some of the results, and the reason why I'm showing you is because there's so many people out there there's a lot of you out there that get these diagnoses of cancer, and it's scary, and it's hard to decipher results. And I had to do all of my own research. I really did, and I'm a nurse. So it started back in February 26th. That's so odd. That's my birthday. What the doctor did is she noticed the protein. That was the first thing she noticed. It was 7.8. It's not abnormally high, but she's like, you know, She looked at that and said, we need to look into that. So she ended up doing this electrophoresis test. And what that did is it showed the abnormality in the beta fraction. And what Mayo recommends then is a urine immunofixation test, which is very, very specific. Because there were these spikes going on. You know, a 29 is supposed to be normal. Mine was 57%. You know, the globulins were high. They're supposed to be 8. You know, mine was 15%. So you see that I was out of whack there. Serum immunofixation here. So they ran, you know, in February, that very first test, and it came back saying monoclonal IgG kappa, early or treated multiple myeloma, MGUS, amyloidosis, etc. And so they suggest a 24-hour urine monoclonal protein studies. They suggest immunoglobulin free light chain serum test, blah, blah, blah. I had to look it up because I was like, what are they talking about? And a monoclonal protein is one antibody, also called immunoglobulin, that has grown out of control. This also identified as an M spike. Each of the different immunoglobulins in your body fights a different type of infection. The electrophoresis test will help you identify this N spike. What that was telling the doctor was that this protein shouldn't be out of control. This antibody should not be out of control. And it becomes out of control when you have cancer present. And that cancer is pretty specific. It is multiple myeloma. So then they have to figure out what stage, where is it at? And so then in March, she decided to order the very specific tests. And that's when the specific tests came back, where I had the spikes in the lambda chains, the kappa chains. What does that mean? Well, it means that when you have a spike in both of them, if it's high, it's an indication that myeloma is active. If both are increased, it shows, you know, there's more going on than the myeloma, because myeloma, what it does is it causes kidney disease, it causes all this other stuff. So that's what my results showed back in March. All right, now I know it's dry, right? These are results, but the reason why I'm going through these results is I really want you to understand my journey, this whole journey, even if it helps one person, because there are people out there with this diagnosis, and it's scary. It's scary. So if one person clicks on this video and they just got diagnosed with multiple myeloma, you're not alone. You know, this is what happens. You have that test, and then you have the next test and the next test. And so where I was at that point with finding out my results, and then I got the phone call at 7 o'clock at night from Dr. Leo, and she said, I have your results. And I'm like, yeah, I already looked at them, but she explained them further. She says, you don't have to panic, but she said you're going to need to follow up with an oncologist and a hematologist, a blood doctor. And me and my girlfriend Victoria, we just prayed, and we just as soon as I hung up the phone with Dr. Leo, we just prayed, and we just basically held hands together, and we said, "It's cancer. We're not accepting it. We're not accepting it." I know people have a hard time with that, but we are not accepting this cancer. I'm not claiming this cancer. I'm not owning this cancer. I'm not going to walk in this cancer. And, you know, I don't care if you're a believer or not. When you own something, and I'm a nurse, right? I've seen people own their diseases. I see people own their illnesses. And you know what that does? It makes you sicker. It puts you in that state of mind where you will become your sickness. You will get worse. And power, there's power in your mind and how you see things. And as a believer, my power comes from Christ and being on the vine. And so it wasn't just my mental state that I needed to hone in. I needed to hone in spiritually that God has it, that He's in control. His hand is on this cancer, and He is going to He's going to guide me through it. He's going to encapsulate it. He's going to put His healing hand around it, and He is going to guide me through it. No matter what that looks like, He's in control. And that night we prayed and we rebuked it. We rebuked it. And thus the journey begins, right? Thus the journey begins. And that's when a couple weeks later, like 3 weeks later, it took a long time to get out of Idaho. But we drove back. You saw the whole drive across the United States. And by the grace of God, we made it, right? We made it across the United States. It was amazing. It was an amazing journey. And my girlfriend brought me to Georgia so I could start the healing process. And the focus was not on the cancer. The focus was healing my immune system, because my immune system was shot. It was shot. I had, the results proved that it was shot. It was gone. So I tell you, the truth is, after a couple months of being in Georgia and feeling strong, and I'm rebuilding, and I could tell the difference from everything that I was doing. I was doing juicing and raw and supplementing and just doing everything naturally and holistic. And I was getting muscle back, and I was biking, and my back was feeling better. It was pretty powerful, the response that I had, walking with God, trusting Him, and doing it the natural way. And, people started then kind of worrying, because they're like, what happened to the cancer? Does she have it? Why is she not addressing it? And people were legitimately getting worried about me, because you hadn't seen me talk about it. I didn't mention it, and I didn't want to. The cancer wasn't the focus. And, but I did get to the point where there were so many people who were so concerned that I told Victoria, I said, you know what, maybe I should look for a doctor just to get established, get some blood work. It's been a long time since I've had some blood work. And even Dr. Leo said, I got to get some blood work. So I started looking for a doctor to get my blood work done. And I tell you what, every door got slammed. Every door. I tried to go through the hospital. I tried to go through the clinic. I tried to get my health records from Idaho. It was door after door after door slammed. I even went to a functional medicine doctor, and I thought that door was opening, and it was so expensive that that door got slammed. And then the Lord called me here to Wisconsin. And then a door opened. About a month after being here, I just felt like, you know what, I'm going to give it the good old try one more time. I got to get some lab work done. Got to get some lab work done just to see where I'm at. And James Beck Cancer Center picked up the phone, and they're like, come on in. I mean, just like that, come on in. So these are the results. They ran every single test that Dr. Leo ran. And they're very fascinating, because the one good thing is, they're exactly the same as they were when I left Idaho. That's a praise the Lord moment. Okay, now here's some, and this is really cool. Okay, there's some really awesome stuff that is happening with this whole cancer thing, and God having it, and me doing this natural route. Because when I got these results, the WBCs, this was done on, it's been a while, in August. The WBCs were 2.7. When I had them tested in Idaho, my WBCs were 2.8. My RBCs in August here in Wisconsin, 3.82. In Idaho, when I left all those months ago, my WBCs were 2.8. However, what I did have to digest as part of this diagnosis was the reality that everything else, when it pointed to the monoclonal paraprotein, which substantiates the multiple myeloma, it was present and it was high. You can see my numbers right there. They're pretty high. And I remember I remember sitting in the office with Dr. Pula, and I was looking at this test right here, and he was trying to explain to me what this all was, this number, because it has to do with the multiple myeloma. And I remember looking at that number, that 1.33 number, and I said, oh, but see, this is awesome. This is, yeah, I'm below. And he looked at me, and it was a really serious look, because, I'm always upbeat, and I'm always, God is awesome. He's got it. And he looked at me seriously, and he said, that's not good. Not good. He says, there's nothing good about these numbers. And at first, I kind of didn't hear him, you know, I didn't really internalize it. And then he proceeded to tell me the rest of the story. So, um, and that's why it's been a really hard, difficult time for me to really just come out on camera and sit down and have this heart to heart, because since August I've been digesting this and trying to digest it with everything else that's going on around me. But the Lord brought me here. He brought me here. He opened the door to the clinic. He showed me things, and there's a stark reality of what's going on. Stark reality that I have multiple myeloma. I've got this cancer, and I'm still, even though I have the diagnosis, I'm still trusting the Lord. But God gives us wisdom, and He gives us the knowledge and the ability to go to doctors and get treatment, and and we're going to talk about this for the rest of the week, the direction and where I'm at with my walk and these results, and what the next step is. So I know this is a long video, but I wanted to get you the real hard facts, the numbers, the labs, so you could see for yourself that this is real. This is real stuff. This is real life, and I'm sharing it, and we're gonna go from there. So sorry it's so long, but come back tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day, because there's going to be more, and we're really going to talk. We're really going to talk some more. And if anything, thank you. I'm going to talk about YouTube and why I think it's important that I stay here and keep witnessing, because I've kind of felt like I've questioned it, seriously questioned it, the last couple weeks here, and we're gonna talk about that too. But I'm in a good place right now, and I'm ready to share the rest of the story. So waiting for your comments, because I love you all, and you've been such a great support. All right, I'm gonna upload this right now. You'll have more this week.